So Season 2 has been out for just about a week now, and we've done a lot of testing on different weapons, and in this video we're going to be going over what are the 10 best loadouts to use inside Warzone Season 2. If you do enjoy this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we try to reach our goal of 50,000 subscribers, and click that link in the description down below and subscribe to our second channel. We do post extra content over there. But like I said, we have tested certain sniper rifles, mainly the Vanguard ones, to see how they fit inside the game. We've also tested other weapons as well overall, but this is what will be the best 20 weapons to use inside Warzone. Now, starting off this list, we have the M13 along with the Diamatti pistol. Now, the Diamatti pistol is definitely one of the best secondary weapons to use if you want a ghost, tempered, anything like that. Then the Diamatti pistol is always going to work out very well. Now, the main way you want to build this is agency suppressor, task force barrel, 5mm laser, or you can use a Tiger Team spotlight for better movement, or you could remove this entirely and put on the microflex LED. I think all of these kind of ways to build this gun are really good, and overall is a solid secondary weapon. It beats out a lot of the SMGs as well if you do land a couple of headshots in there, which is very easy to do. So Diamatti pistol has to make this list. And the M13 has just gotten really popular recently because it is one of the best when it comes to low recoil, and Modern Warfare guns just have really good bullet velocity at the moment, especially compared to the Vanguard weapons, whereas they have really bad bullet velocity. Now, they have tried to buff it a little bit with certain attachment changes, but still I do think the Cold War as well as Modern Warfare guns are slightly better. So the M13 is a super good low recoil option. Next up, we have another low recoil class, again with our favorite secondary weapons. So this time you want to be using the AMP. The AMP is a fully automatic Cold War gun, and since they've upped the mag count on this gun, it's been a really good secondary option. It's basically an SMG in your pocket that you can use straight away. Now, the build is slightly different to what I would use on the Diamatti, because the Diamatti has a lot of vertical recoil. We need to counteract that with the agency suppressor, but this is actually a lot easier to control, plus it's fully automatic as well, which helps out a ton. So sound suppressor is going to help out better when it comes to the aim down sight time and sprint to fire. And then also I'd rather use a Tiger Team spotlight in this case because the iron sights are actually slightly cleaner on the AMP than they are with the Diamatti pistol, or you can take off again the laser if you want to and put on the optic. But I do think this is definitely a really good competitor to pretty much most SMGs in this game, besides a few of the meta ones at the moment, but definitely a solid option as always. And then you want to pair that with the FARA. Now, the FARA is an absolute solid gun, and it has to make this list. I feel like not a lot of people are talking about this gun right now, but it hits really hard and it has a really fast fire rate as well, and on top of that it has no recoil. So next up, we're moving into our sniper loadouts now, and we've done a whole bunch of testing on the Vanguard snipers to basically let you know that they're not very good inside Warzone right now. Bullet velocity's trash, ADS times are still trash on these guns, so you want to make sure you're always using Modern Warfare or Cold War snipers, and this is the class for you. So first of all, we're pairing it with the Owen gun, which is a solid sniper support gun because it has a slightly slower fire rate, which makes it a little bit easier to control. On top of that, it's really good in those close and medium range gunfights. Now, the only issue with this gun, of course, is that the mags take up like 90% of your screen space, which is really annoying with this gun. So you could actually swap out the slate reflector for the hybrid optic that actually pushes the scope down a little bit. So that is this one right here. So when you switch to the hybrid, it actually pushes the mags below the screen so it doesn't take up all the space, which is actually quite handy. But as you can see here, one of the cons is aim down sight time, which is one of the reasons I don't use it. It's the only annoying thing about this gun. Other than that, this gun I actually think would be really, really popular, but that is the only one thing that holds it back. Now, a couple of things that I don't go for is I don't go for a barrel on this gun because a lot of the barrels give you a ton of cons that you don't really need. I do want to go for the skeletal under barrel, and that's for a faster ADS time. The ADS on this gun is pretty slow, and other than that is the usual kind of SMG build. So remove stock, acrobatic for better movement speeds, quick, groove grip, and then hollow point rounds because the incendiaries got nerfed. And then we're pairing this with the Kar98 from Modern Warfare, and this is pretty much the meta build. Not really much has changed here. If you want to see kind of like all the stats and the reasoning why we haven't chosen any Vanguard guns on this list, I'll leave a link to that video at the end of this one where we compared all the stats for the Vanguard snipers. But like I said, this is pretty much the meta build for the Kar98 from Modern Warfare. Nothing has changed besides using the focus perk instead of basically the sport comb. So that is the only thing that's changed, because they did increase the flinch on these guns. So now we're moving on into our next sniper class, which is the STG with the Swiss. Now, first of all, with the STG, overall, it's just a very solid gun. You can build this in many different ways, and in my opinion, is better than the Cooper carbine because it actually kills a lot faster. So if you do want to build this as an assault rifle, I have tons of assault rifle builds for this gun on the channel already. You can go and check those out. But this is more like a sniper support build for this gun, which has got the recoil booster, the long barrel, which you do definitely still need, the slate reflector, which you could change for any optic you like, the precision stock, because even though it does harm your movement, it still gives you the better aim down sight time and recoil control. So that's why I would still go for this stock right here. But we do make up with the movement with the acrobatic perk and making it a bit more mobile. Fully loaded, you can use the polymer grip here to help with recoil, but you can also choose something like the fabric grip, which will help with your sprint to fire and aim down sight time if you feel like it's a bit too slow. Both are really good options. Then we've got the Russian mags actually, which is going to give you a higher damage. We're using hollow point because that is what we would use on an SMG, but like I said, we're using this as a sniper support. And then we've got the skeletal. Now you can go for the Carver 4 grip or the M1 hand stop if you need a little bit more recoil control. Now for the Swiss build is the usual meta build for the Swiss. I don't want to waste too much time on this. The only thing I do want to mention is that we're going for the serpent wrap here and not the airborne elastic, because the airborne elastic does not actually help with flinch resistance. So you might as well take the serpent wrap and get a little bit extra bonus to your aim down sight time. Everything else is pretty much the meta build. You can remove the bruiser grip for a mag if you really wanted to. At number 6, we have our final sniper class, and that is the Mac 10 with the SPR. Now, getting into the Mac 10 first quickly, the build hasn't really changed all too much to what we're used to. The only thing that I have swapped out is no stock instead of the Raider stock, because they have been nerfed and they don't really move as quick anymore. You can also choose the wire stock as well. That's also a solid option if you don't want any cons, but I just like the no stock. The bruiser grip is going to give you the best movement when it comes to any SMG in terms of Cold War anyway. And then when it comes to the barrel, you have to choose the task force, and the muzzle is the agency suppressor. The reason for that is because we do want the recoil control. If you're building this more as an SMG and not a sniper support, then the sound suppressor is more than enough. But in my opinion, if you want to build this gun the best way, the agency suppressor is the best way to go, because with the clean iron sights, it is pretty solid in that medium range as well. Now, when you're pairing this, you want to pair it with the SPR. Now, the SPR is absolutely my favorite sniper to use inside Warzone right now. It's got the least flinch resistance on the base weapon, so you don't need to add any focus perks or anything like that. ADS is reasonable, not as fast as the car, but definitely solid, and the damage is just as good as the car and the Swiss. So overall, this is probably the most balanced sniper in the game in my opinion. Bullet velocity is pretty solid too. Everything from number 5 and above is basically an AR SMG combo. These are my favorite combinations of weapons, and you can mix and match these however you please. But right now we've got a throwback class, which is the GRAU and the MP5. Starting off with the GRAU, nothing really much has changed here. You just want to choose the meta GRAU build, which is basically the mono suppressor, Archangel barrel, commando foregrip, 60 round mags, tac laser, or the VLK optic. Just depends on what you prefer. Then when it comes to the MP5, you do need to change the build on this, and the reason why I keep saying this is because people still use the Merc foregrip, and there's no need for it. You still get really good hip fire with the 5mm laser, but you don't want to take any more constant movement than you have to with this gun, because the Vanguard and Cold War guns just move way faster now. So monolithic integral, 5mm, 45 round mag, stippy grippy, and then the F-Tac collapsible stock. At number 4, we have a throwback Cold War class now, and we've got the C58 with the LAPA. Now, the C58 did get a bit of a recoil nerf in the update, but to be perfectly honest with you, I don't notice a difference in that recoil change at all. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if they forgot to actually nerf this gun entirely, and we'll probably get new patch notes later, like tomorrow or later this week, saying that they actually have adjusted it according to what they said previously. So the C58 still feels really good inside Warzone, and I still recommend using it. Bullet velocity is great, recoil control is great, damage is pretty solid as well. The standard build still stands. The only thing you could probably change out is the mags for a 55 round, but I think 45s is more than enough for this gun, and it's a solid gun to use inside Warzone at the moment. I think Cold War guns are definitely the best long range weapons at the moment. And then when it comes to the LAPA probably could have been the meta SMG when it comes to Season 2, but a lot of the attachments are broken for the Vanguard SMGs, and that is just why it's not taking the #1 spot just yet. And the build you want to use is the one that's on the screen just now with the sound suppressor and the bruiser grip. You can swap out the mags for a 50 round mag if you need to, but I do think the 40 rounds more than enough, and make sure you use that Microflex LED because the iron sights are terrible. Before we move on into the top 3 loadouts now, make sure you like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. But let's get on into number 3, which we have the BREN and the well gun. Now, I don't want to waste too much time on this because the BREN, even though it did get a bit of a damage nerf, the recoil is still extremely low. It still kills way too fast in my opinion, and this gun still needs a nerf 100%. So this is the build. It's not really changed too much from before. Just make sure you're still using that MX silencer for the horizontal and vertical recoil control. Hodgson stock's actually the best at controlling recoil, polymer grip, tight grip, and lengthened. The rest you can actually change about if you want. When it comes to the well gun, we do get the shrouded barrel back. We can actually see this now, and we also get some iron sights with the Season 2 update, so definitely make sure you're taking advantage of both of those things, and the recoil booster there. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that the acrobatic perk and the fleet perk both work really well when it comes to that hip fire build, when it comes to the PPSH that you might have seen before, or anything like that. So if you do want to hip fire with this gun, then make sure you use acrobatic, fleet, or gung ho, which is also a really good option too. But like I said, this is one of the fastest killing SMGs in the game. Definitely try it out. At number 2, we have what I'm going to call the easy meta. Now, if you want something that's easy to use, something that involves not really too much skill, then this is the easy meta for absolutely everyone. So we've got the MP40 from Vanguard, and we've got the XM4 from Cold War. Now, with the XM4 build, it's pretty much the standard meta build. Agency suppressor, task force, axial arm, 60 rounds, field agent grip. This gun is so easy to use, it kills really quick, and just overall it's just super low recoil, and there's not really much that needs to be said about this gun. Then when it comes to the MP40, it's been one of the most popular SMGs in the game for a while now. It still kills really quick. The only thing you need to make sure you change here is switching out the fire rounds for hollow point to make sure you are taking advantage of that faster TTK. Steady perk, and then also quick, and the remove stock or the folding stock will be the best 2 options here. And this is just a really easy SMG to use. You can use it in close range, medium range, and if you build it slightly differently, you can even use it in long range. It's pretty much the most versatile SMG in the game right now. At number 1, we actually have the Cold War AK and the PPSH from Vanguard. Now, the PPSH from Vanguard right now is pretty much broken. It's got a higher damage profile than intended, and it's the fastest killing SMG in the game. But not only that, this hipfire build is absolutely broken because it's pretty much just as accurate as aiming down sights. So you don't even need to get into that ADS animation to get like super fast TTKs. So it's going to make the TTK even faster. And that is why this gun is pretty much ridiculously broken right now. Now, I did make a slight adjustment to the previous video when I was talking about this, and that is because I wanted to be able to use this gun whilst ADS. Now, it's not really all that viable, but it's definitely more viable than having the rifle scope on there anyway. So I did sacrifice a little bit of recoil control to get an iron sight, but other than that, the rest of the build is pretty much identical. You've got the pistol grip on there instead, but you can use the Carver 4 grip if you really want to as well. You'll not lose a gunfight if you're in close range with this. Then you want to pair it with the best long range rifle in the game, which is the Cold War AK. If you can manage the recoil on this gun, it's one of the fastest killing guns in the game if you land a couple of headshots. Again, you're going to reduce that TTK even further. And it's not like a super high skill gap to use this weapon, but it's definitely a little bit harder than the XM4, for example. So, like I said, this is the meta build. It's not really changed all that much, but it's definitely a little bit of skill involved. Once you can get a hang of it, this loadout will allow you to drop super high kill games, and it's going to be really easy to do. So there we have it. Those are the top 10 best loadouts inside Warzone Season 2. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, don't forget to sub to the channel as we're trying to reach our goal of 50k subscribers. Click that link in the description down below and subscribe to our second channel, and thank you very much for watching.